Okay, we're live now.
Are we live? Or are we just recording?
No, we're live. Good afternoon, everybody. We're live.
Okay.
I'm Wanda Ravernell. This is Tobaji Stewart, and we are the co-directors of Omnira Institute. And our performing arm, so to speak, is Awon Ohun Omnira, which means Voices of Freedom in Yoruba. I want to take a moment to thank ACTA, Alliance for California Traditional Arts, for inviting us to participate in their shelter-in-place programming. And so first of all, thank you for that. And also, we had quite a bit of help with the technology of doing this. We're not quite used to it. So we have been working with ACTA now for 10 years. They've graciously funded our activities, which include, first of all, to say that Omnira Institute, our mission is to reclaim African and African American cultural ideas, to kind of reculturize African Americans. There's so much that we have lost. We lost a lot through slavery, and we also lost a lot through the Jim Crow era, integration, etc. And so, we are looking for those traditions and engaging in those traditions because we know for sure and for a fact that they are healing for us. And that's why we engage in them. And as I said, we heal in this practice. And this is also a way that we are able to articulate to ourselves who we are, because there's so much about being Black in America, of being told who you are, and also suffering because of who we are. So, to actively engage in the things that we were told were negative or backward or primitive, these things are really important. And by engaging, we find out exactly how sophisticated our ancestors were and what they were reaching for, how they presented it, and how it is encoded in this physical spirituality, which is also a test of a certain kind of intelligence that was important to African people. So what we're going to do is we are going to start with, I was going to tell you about what our annual programs are. We are often invited to participate in community, different people, churches, schools invite us to come and do presentations during Black History Month. We do our own Juneteenth ceremony. It's not just a celebration. It's a ceremony where we combine from what Awon Ohun Omnira does. We do both the songs for the ancestors in Yoruba, accompanied by bata drums, and we also do the ring shout, which we take inspiration from the McIntosh County Shouters, who have consistently done this African American testament to faith for at least 200 or 300 years. So, we do both of those things for our Juneteenth. And our Juneteenth is a remembrance of the people who died before slavery ended. And we do it in several faiths of the people who were captured and brought to the so-called New World. So we have prayers that represent at least 3 African backgrounds. That would be Vodun, Lucumí, that would be us, and Palamote. But we start, of course, with including the First Nation, because they were enslaved before the Africans. So we always start out with that first, have them, First Nation drum, participate. Those prayers are followed by prayers from the Abrahamic tradition. Um, it was common for people for Africans to be also Jewish, Christian, and Muslim. And then finally, in the waning days of slavery, there were Asian people who were brought to Mississippi, brought to Jamaica, brought to Cuba, and virtually enslaved, meaning that they were there at the same time that we were. I don't think that the formality of slavery was the same, but they worked in the fields with our ancestors. The Black Eyed Pea Festival is a celebration of African American traditional food, music, and art. And so that is where we bring in mostly, things from the 19th and 20th century that are on the verge of being forgotten, and also real musicianship. And not to denigrate anything anybody else does, but the creativity and resilience that our ancestors showed after slavery and during all of the Jim Crow years is really remarkable. So we showcase that. And our final presentation of the year is the African American Day of the Ancestors. So through our research, we discovered that there are many things that, like Dia de los Muertos. We find out that, well, African and African American people also did these kinds of things. So we do that, a celebration for the ancestors. What the African Americans used to do in the South was called Grave Sweeping Day. And so they would go and tend to those graves, and they would have a picnic and lunch. So what we do to elevate Grave Sweeping Day is we go to Evergreen Cemetery in Oakland, where there's a mass grave for victims of the Jonestown mass suicide. And so by definition, because so many of them were killed, that grave is neglected. And so we go there and sing for the ancestors and sing for them the horrible way that they died. So having explained that this is what we do, then I'm going to ask my husband, who is the great knowledge bearer for us, to do a libation and a prayer, because we really can't adequately sing with just the two of us. So he has a gourd in his hand with water.
So we always, what she said, first of all, I co-sign that. But we always start by saluting our ancestors. We talk a lot about what the ritual is, but you can't really talk this ritual. You have to, something that's a living thing. So we can't just intellectualize about it. We have to be able to explain what it is, of course, but it's something that we do, that we practice, that we've studied how to, we've uncovered much of our ancestral history and how our ancestors related to the planet, to the earth. And we call it Risha, we talk about the ancestors, but when we're talking about ancestors, we're not just talking about the ancestors, our personal ancestors, our mothers, our fathers, our grandparents, great-grandparents, all the way back, of course, to the continent of motherland, Africa. But we're talking about the earth itself. The earth itself is an ancestor. The earth itself gave birth to humanity and all the living things that's on the planet. So our ancestors recognized the planet as being a living thing, not just some inanimate object that we can just profane and do many things to, but something that we love and revere. So our ancestors identified, cataloged every aspect of this planet. And so what we call name or Risha is really the science of our ancestors and how our ancestors related to the planet, how we love the planet, we revere the planet, and we sung about the planet. So when I'm pour a libation, I'm not just pouring a libation to our immediate ancestors, our living and ancestors that passed on, priests and priestesses. We say Baba Loches or Ia Loches or Baba Laos, Potabis. Not just those, but the planet itself when we pour libation. Because the planet, if you look at our inside our bodies, you find everything that's on the planet, stardust, every mineral, every herb, it's all inside of us as our humans. So, excuse me.
Go ahead.
So, pour libation. Omi tutu, ona tutu, ile tutu, tutu la roye. Kozi ku, kozi ano, kozi yo, kozi alopa, kozi seji, kozi yo orum, kozi yadina, aikubawa. Olodumare mojulonyo, igun kini, igun keji, igun keta, igun kering. Olojoni, bobo reba toba waniri aye, wa fumini temi, taya tomo tegbe togba, wa fie kofie wa fie kofi sheti wa, embari, embayo, enkoje temio, alayo, afuye gekeke machigbe. Olojini to for wakole, abaya kobi, dun, alayo, ifa waboti wao, eshu iboti wao, orisha iboti wao, egongo iboti wao, yekia waje wao, kiola sataya tomo, tiri loring pak moniri aye, ashe. That's a short version of prayers that we do for ancestors. It's a daily prayer actually that I like to do. My mentor, Baba Fabemi Ibaye, taught me years ago as a daily prayer, but it can be extended much longer. And basically what the prayer is saying is, you say, Olodumare means owner of everlasting abundance. You say, Igun Kini, left corner, right corner, all the corners of the world, the planet. It's basically saying corner. In other words, it's a way of saying we ask for blessings for the four corners of the world. We ask that you come to this place that we are, that we know without you, the ancestors, that we would not have waked this morning, the one who invented light, who brought the light into the world, not just brought it, but the inventor of light. We ask that you come for us, our wives, our husbands, the children, but not just the children that are here today, but all the children of the world, the ones who have passed and the ones who are to come. We ask that you come to this place that we are. Don't close your eyes and ears to us. Come. And we're asking you to come. And we are willing to do whatever the work is that we need to do in order to make our endeavors come true. We know that we can never fully understand thee or really know thee. We know if we only but try, that our lives will be sweet, sweet, sweet. And then we say, Ashe, 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 which is, Ashe is a word that's used a lot amongst our people these days. And it's thought to mean just let it be so. That's kind of what it means, but Ashe is more than that. Ashe is the thing that gives us livingness. It's the power to move. It's the power to live. It is a living force that's within us. So it's not just, amen or let it be so. That's part of what it is, of course, but but it's more than that. It's like I said, it's a living force. It's what makes us animated and gives us the power to move forward and the power to make things changes. Because if there are any to be any changes, we can't pray up on the changes. What we do when we pray, we're not just asking forces outside of us to make something happen. We're asking the living ancestors within us to give us the strength and the power and the vision to make something happen. So that's a sort of a preview of the kind of work that we do and what we've been trying to, my wife and I, together and separately, before we even became a unit, we were both doing the work. And like many Africans in our community, and this Afrocentric people in our community, are you doing various works. We're doing part of it, but there are many other people in the community that's working, doing the same thing. Some Lucumí, some doing work from Ghana and Senegal and other places in Africa, the Akan, and many other things. So we, you know, there's many of us in this community that's doing great work, and we're just happy that we can be a part of that.
So one of the things that he mentioned was about the light, and what I did not say in our preamble of the kind of work that we do was about 4 or 5 years ago, we wanted to start taking the Awon Ohun Omnira, which is the sung litany for the ancestors, to do that at the places where people have been killed by the state violence, or the people who suffered state violence. So, so we got involved with Uncle Bobby from Oscar Grant's uncle, with the Love Not Blood campaign, and we got introduced to some people who were working at that time. The most recent police killing was Mario Woods, who was gunned down in the Bayview on December 2nd, 2015. So we have been working with them, and we have gone to Alan Bluford's mother asked us to do Awon Ohun, where her son was killed in East Oakland. So we've gone to different sites, and we have brought the full power of doing what is called the House of Light for when someone passes. And the House of Light consists of several parts. There's prayer, there's the songs for the ancestors, but there's also the altar. And I know that Jennifer from ACTA shared a photograph of an altar that we did in honor of George Floyd, which was done the 9th day after his death. And that's just in general. When a man dies, or a male child dies, 9 days after their death is when a ceremony of elevation is done. For a female or woman dies, it's 7 days after her death. We will do that celebration. So on that 9th day, and we thought about this. We thought about, you know, the fact that we were not there, that we were not in Minnesota. We thought about the fact that their family didn't ask us to do this, because in general, when we do this, we have an agreement with the family, because their beliefs aren't necessarily, they may decide, no, we don't want that for our loved one. We are comfortable with what we've already done. So we thought about that, but considering the particularly brutal way that he was killed, and considering the arrogance of those so-called police as they killed that man, we felt it was necessary for our own healing to do that ceremony. Because in part, the ceremony is to uplift the person, elevate the person who has died. But the other part is for us. The other part is for us. It is no accident, it is no coincidence that in the Black church, they sing hard when somebody passes. You know, they release deliberately, and so also with this. There are songs that we sing when we do this. There's some are the pace or the tempo is fast, others it's slow. There are times when it's supposed to be sung sweetly, and other times that we are supposed to bellow a little bit. But that is the purpose and the intent. To go back to the visual part of the House of Light is that probably one thing that you could not see was that drawn on the wall and behind all of those pictures and in front is there's a line inscribed with Ephraim, and that is to designate that from now on these people are in the other world. And so we symbolically separate those of us, we are like the line above. It's called the line of existence. It's called the plane of existence. That we are in the plane of existence, and they are below the line of existence. So that's a designation that we are doing there. And I also said that normally auto ego is done for one person, but there were people who we did this for, who said, you know, every time you do this for someone, for one of these victims of police violence, please put my loved one's picture there too. And so then we have made that agreement for them so that they can continue to be elevated. Let me see if there's anything else that's missing. I think that's really all that we have to. Oh, I want to talk a little bit about our crew.
Yes.
Okay, he has something to add.
I just want to say that she mentioned the Ephraim, and also the normal way that these ceremonies are done. We talk about oral ego or sinku, which means to bury your dead, to bury our dead. For us African Americans, it's very important. Us Africans in America, I should say, not African Americans, but Africans in America. It's important for us because so many of our ancestors died on those ships coming here. You know, being kidnapped and brought here. So many went overboard. No reverence, no prayers for them. Those are our ancestors. There are those. Many of those people were family to us, either direct or, you know, just by nature of where they came from, the continent. And so our ancestors needed to be propitiations. And so a very good friend of mine, Brother Doye, we were talking about, that's about 10 years ago, and he explained to me how we spend a lot of time studying songs and rituals for Risha, but we don't spend enough time to salute our ancestors, and that's really where most of our rituals start. We start with our immediate ancestor, and then we move to the next level of dealing with Orisha, which is those elemental forces of nature that we salute. And so it's very important for us to sing these songs, not just for the immediate, because we always call our ancestors. When you do with these rituals, you always call your personal ancestors, and you salute others as well. So we call many people that have been shot down, and as well as those ancestors that came before. I mentioned something about the Ephraim. The Ephraim itself is a chalk that comes from riverbeds. It's just really like not just chalk, but it's a chalky like mud. And the significance of that chalk is that they're all in many different cultures. They talk about us being, formed, our bodies being formed with clay. These kind of myths about stories about that are based in some truth. I mean, because again, in the earth, you'll find all the elements that are in our bodies. So that chalk itself relates directly to one of our ancient Odus, dealing with Obatala and the creation of humans. And that's what he used, and it's sacred to Obatala, the Ephraim. So whenever we use the Ephraim, it represents symbolically where we came from. And so we use it to draw that line between the living world in the world of the ancestors. That's what that Awon represents.
Okay, I see that we have a question. What simple spiritual practices can folks build into their lives for healing and collective liberation? Do you want it to go first, or you want me to do it?
Well, I'll go. You know, we have a particular way that we have been taught to build ancestor shrines, but and traditions. You know, that's what tradition is. You pass on, and you do it, do something the same or something similar. So if you don't have anyone to instruct you on how to build a shrine, we can give you some information before we finish this session. But if you just put some water and a picture up. Most of our ancestors, if you go to a mantelpiece, almost everybody I know, you go and you see all these different relatives. Now, of course, you know, when we deal with an ancestral shrine, we don't put a living person on that shrine. But quite often, you know, our families would enshrine their ancestors anyway. They would come to the mantelpiece and you see all these pictures.
Coffee table or the top of the piano.
Exactly.
That's where you might see what, you know, just like a corner for some reverence.
But it's what we find is, I was taught, is for ancestor, put it on the floor. Find a corner. If you can find a west wall, western corner, you can build your shrine from there. Again, like I said, we will show you some images. In fact, you saw one. That shrine.
That one is a typical ancestor shrine. So, in answer to your question, what we were looking for when we found this tradition was a way to heal the ancestral wound. And so then what we find comforting is finding solace in those who have gone before us. And so sometimes it can be as even more simple than what he described. Because what you are creating for yourself is a place of memory that you can find comforting. And also, one of the things that when we have done this on the street, or when you see actually street memorials, are very much in keeping with this idea.
Absolutely.
Which is that, you know, you are honoring the person who is gone, but you're also doing something for yourself, you know, and that essentially this is an act of love. So that's the comfort, that's the healing, is that you get to, even in this horrible state that we're in, is that you get to make an act of love. You can do that by invoking the four elements, by putting a candle or a light. The candle represents, you know, can represent earth. So then you have light, and where there is light and there's a candle, there is air, and a glass of water. These are the things that animate a human body. This is what animates the earth. And so then when you put a place for that, then, and you put your attention to it, then you derive comfort from that. So that's what I would suggest. That, you know, you can just put down your little candle, little glass of water, a picture of the person that you are mourning, and I would suggest this, that to be careful of the pictures that you use, because not to take for granted that you can just, okay, I'm going to put down a candle and a glass of water for George Floyd. Be careful about that. Start with your own ancestors. Start with your own ancestors before you add that. You're wanting to build a relationship with your connection to the source of time. So that's what I would suggest for.
And also, you're invoking when you do this. When you, if you notice, the Awon that we mark the floor, and then we mark the wall. So there's a complete circle, counterclockwise circle. On the floor, there are 9 lines that are drawn through this the circle. You know, trying as even as possible not to be perfect. But that represents just a representation of the sun rising in the underworld. And the top is like everything is turned upside down. And within that circle, we are creating a portal for us, spiritual portal, so we can communicate with those ancestors. So that's a particular way it can be done, but as you said, it can be done much simpler. The main thing I say that I believe that it should be done is the water, the candle, and the pictures of only those who have passed to be in that place. And you can have a special place. It's nice if it could be a west wall, but if you don't have a west wall, which quite often we don't, any place that you can put it is good, you know. But we try to follow those kind of instructions, because what we say is that the sun rises in the east and it sets in the west, you know, which is a living, the planet is like, symbolically, it comes alive and then it goes back to rest. And that's the cycle that we are in. So that's the one thing that we do suggest.
So there's a question about the significance of the water. So I'm not sure if this question came before or after I mentioned that, you know, the elements for the shrine are actually mimicking the earth. And also our bodies have everything that's in the universe. So, but we are, what, 77% water? So then the water represents our bodies. It represents the element of the world without which we could not survive. That's what its significance is.
The other thing is symbolically, our body is just a vehicle, and the livingness is a spirit within us. When we come to this planet, symbolically, this vehicle is sometimes in some parts of Africa, and well, particularly West Africa, Oyo, and Benin, Ibadan. There's places where they use a boat, and in this boat, when the person passes, they put the body in the boat, and it symbolically takes it from village to village while they sing and celebrate this person's voyage back home, because we're only here to visit. And so when we come spiritually, symbolically, our bodies are just the vehicle or a boat. And the first thing that comes when we come from heaven, which is the mother's womb, when you come from your mother's womb, if we come from heaven, then heaven, the doorway to this planet, coming here is through your mother's womb. And the first thing that gushes is water. So it's symbolically that you travel from heaven in this symbolic boat. Your spirit comes here, and the first thing that comes is water. And also the atmosphere itself spiritually represents, you know, because in an atmosphere there's nothing but water in it. You look at those clouds, they're just mist and water. So that's symbolically why the water is so important. Of course, as she said, our bodies are 77% water. You know, so our bodies are still, in many ways, our spirit is still, you know, floating in water.
Okay, our next question is, what is Omnira planning for Juneteenth? How can we celebrate and honor the occasion as we shelter in place? So this year, we decided not to do our Juneteenth ceremony. Initially, we were going to try to do it virtually. We might still post something online from previous Juneteenths. But we aren't doing anything in particular. Okay, so I will say this. We started doing Juneteenth outside publicly in 2008. And then each year we would get guidance as to what kind of theme to apply, which which segment of our ancestry or which segment of our population are we going to focus on this time. So one year it was the black people who were in the Civil War, and at the time that we did that, I didn't know that it was the addition of those about 200,000 troops that turned the tide in the Civil War. Another time we honored the people who were killed in South Carolina by, I don't want to say the killer's name, because I know his name better than I know the people who were killed, those 15 people. Let's see, other times it was runaway slaves. And so each of those times, the thing that we did that was important was that we found the names of soldiers. We found the names of runaway slaves. And during our ceremony, those names were recited. Whoever was, whichever thing we had, we found names to be recited during that ceremony. And we sang a particular song that was about the end of slavery. No More Auction Block for Me. There's a really good rendition by Paul Robeson that you could find. But what I would do, or what I will be doing on this Juneteenth, particularly since the squatter in the White House is going to Tulsa on that day, I will be reciting names. I don't know how many names I can find of those who were killed in Tulsa during that time, but I will be doing a prayer with the candle and calling those names. So that's what I think is to do that. And I will be calling those names after I call the names of my own ancestors, because the reason that I live and breathe and able to call anybody's name is because of them. I find this comforting. I find it powerful. One of the things that we see a lot, especially with the women who have been killed by police, we see, say her name, say her name. And so saying the names, or whomever, whichever group of black ancestors you want to call, say those names that day. Invoke us. Invoke our freedom.
And we're going to do something. At least we're going to post something of Juneteenth. We may do post shorter versions of our past Juneteenth, because I think it's important that we do that, do something anyway. But this pandemic is a very interesting thing to me, and I think to us, in that we have been, black people in America have lived in a virtual pandemic. We have murdered and mistreated so often that it's become, almost passé to people. That you actually murder someone on TV, and just get away with it, And so this sickness that's going on, this pandemic, is a representation of a planet that is sick, because this is not just happening in America. It's happening in many different places around the world that is not being given the attention that it should be given. And so the planet has decided with this pandemic to heal itself. And I suggest that we understand that this illness, that because when the planet is ill, we're ill. And so the planet is trying to heal itself. If you've noticed, many places that there were issues with smog and the water becoming cleaner, the air is becoming cleaner, and we must understand that this is not the first time the planet has done this. Maybe not as a pandemic. We've had a pandemic before, but even prior to us even having the word pandemic, the planet at various times would do things to cleanse itself. But at this point, it's really, really important that we understand that the planet is speaking to us. We call these are the Orisha that are talking to us. They're saying that something is wrong, and so the ones of us who understand this, and I hope most black people pay attention, and be very careful around this time, because the one thing about these elemental forces that we call Orisha, when Oya decides to come and to clean up, it don't matter who's there. What we understand is that when she's coming, get out the way. Have the knowledge to understand that we cannot pray away and control these elemental forces. What we can do is become in time and in tune with them, so we will understand how to move with them. They teach us how to live in harmony with them, and with this planet. And we have not been, and some of us, it's not our fault. Well, I don't know if it's our fault or not, but we have not enough control to protect the earth, the air, and the water. So just be very careful and understand. Heal with the planet.
So our next question, any words of wisdom for those out protesting or fighting right now for the defunding of police and for justice for those murdered by police? First of all, in the 1970s, way of expressing is right on.
Yep.
Y'all go the heck on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Proud of you.
Go for it.
Young people out there doing it.
Go for it. The only thing that we would ask is that you be careful out there. Wear your mask. Take seriously what is going on with this pandemic. We don't want to lose you. I just read this morning about a young woman in her 20s that had a lung replacement after she went through COVID-19. So we want you out there. We want you out there.
Safe.
But we want you to be safe. We want you to be safe. And from the spiritual point of view, what I would say to anybody who's doing this is that if you get a thought that maybe you shouldn't go somewhere, don't go. If you have an intuition about something, don't go. Pay attention to your own self. Pay attention to your own mind. This is not magical. This is a certain value of your intelligence. So if you hear something say, don't go today, you can go tomorrow. Go around this corner. Don't follow those people. Pay attention to that. Those kinds of instincts. Harriet Tubman was renowned for following her intuition and getting, people to their freedom. She had to do that. So pay attention to that. That's not something that you can ignore. And I'm just saying that's a matter of looking out for your own safety, the safety of the people who you're with.
And we admire your courage.
Yes.
We admire the courage of these young people, because all of our rituals, it's the young that lead the way. We became before, but at some point, the strength to pull the carriage, needs powerful, strong energy and horses. And so our young people, are moving forward. And I find it very interesting that I've witnessed this many times. I was there for a lot of these happenings. We became angry early on for less.
You talking about the 60s?
Yeah, things for less. Now because they've kind of lulled us in some kind of false sense of security. I don't know what this is that they got us into, but it's awakened again. But now it's awakened not just with black people, because the so-called uprisings that were before was basically just us, and it was vigorous, to say the least. But this was happening now. I find is very interesting and encouraging, because this is all races are out there, all races, you know, putting their bodies on the line, you know, and I find it, you know, encouraging that the humanity, because what's been going on is less than human, because humans don't treat each other like this, you know. You don't, if you're a human, you don't treat other human beings like this, or even animals, you know. So there's something inhuman about this spirit that's possessing these so-called law enforcers, you know, not law protectors, but law enforcers, you know. And so these young people, be careful out there, because these people, you know, I really admire all of you and the courage that you have, but be careful, because there's a certain inhumaneness that happens with these people. You know, you don't just shove, beat children, and shoot people with, they call them rubber bullets. You ever seen one of those rubber bullets? How big they are and the kind of damage they can do to a person. So, you know, we admire you, and that we give thanks that you have the courage to get out and do what you're doing. But be careful, because we need you alive.
And we just want to say one thing about this issue of violence. You know, when the looting and burning started, and the first cry was like, "Oh, it can't be violent." It was violence that got us out here. And Black people have been enduring the violence of this society for a long time. That's where the violence is.
It's never been nonviolent.
The idea that this is that it should be nonviolent. It's never been nonviolent when it came to what we endured in our bodies. It's always been that violence. So I would just say, really, don't get it twisted about, you know, the concern about these buildings, etc. Because we already know that when COVID-19 happened, all of a sudden, you know, this country been running on a deficit. All of a sudden, they got trillions of dollars coming out of I don't know where.
Right.
To fix it. So, not concerned about the buildings. We're concerned about the safety of your body. Exactly. And your sanctity. Exactly. So, we are apparently getting compliments. They're saying, "Beautiful, thank you." No, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So we've been on here for a long time. We've been wearing y'all beating your eardrums to death. So we're going to, I want to ask my husband to sing what is both the opening and closing song when we do Awon Ohun.
And this song is very interesting, where our ancestors related to it, how they related to these kind of celebrations, you know, and sending out our loved ones home. And give a little translation of the song, but we're going to sing it first. And this is one of the first songs, usually the first songs that's sung in any of the rituals in Lucumí, what we call Lucumí. And it goes like this. Aumba waori, awa umba waori, awa usun, awa oma, leri omari awo, bobo egun kawe. Aumba waori, awa umba waori, awa usun, awa oma, leri omari awo, bobo egun kawe. Omolawo njare fiedenu, agufao, agufao. Omolawo jare fiedenu, agufao, agufao. Omolawo jare fiedenu, agufao, agufao. Omolawo jare fiedenu, agufao, agufao. Tele moba tele, tele moba tele, waike waike. Otombo, arambo, waike waike waike. Yo waye ye. Tele moba tele, Tele moba tele waike waike. Otorumbo ararumbo waike 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 mio waye. So that's a short version. We use, the call response is more. But the first song, Aumba Wawdi, Awa Sun, Awa Ma, Lady Omari, Awo, Bobo Egun Kawe. What we're saying is that we come to see you, but we don't see you. It's like a dream. We don't rest. But we promise that we will continue the traditions and that we're asking our ancestors to see your coming, to embrace you, the dwellers of heaven come for us. Come for the ones, not only the ones that we don't, but the ones that we don't know. And that particular prayer, really, the song is a prayer as well as a song. It didn't really mean as much to me until I did it for my mother. And when you come to it, you see that spirit there, and you see the spirit, but the body, they're separated at that point. And so, it's a very emotional moment. You don't rest. Soon is like a dreaming. And we promise that we will continue these traditions. We won't let you go in vain, so to speak. And we're asking the dwellers of heaven to, we're alerting them that you're coming. The ones that we don't and the ones we don't know. The second song, Omon La Wajari Fiadenu, is saying that we are, that we know we're not worthy, but be patient with us ancestors. The third song that we sang, Tele Moba Tele, is saying, look, we know that you're going to a better place. Essentially, we're saying, going to a better place, but we still got work to do here. We're not coming. Even though we know it's a good place, but we're not coming yet.
Coming yet.
Mama, we're not coming yet. Yeah, we're not coming yet. Not yet.
Okay, so we have, we're going to wind up here. This question is, how can folks support or follow Omnira? Any organizations you want people to donate to? So you can find us on Facebook. I have to admit that the Facebook page is a little dusty, but under the name of our group, Awon Ohun Omnira, and that is, I don't know, perhaps our sponsors can put that up so that people can see how that is spelled. So you can find us there, some of our work samples, some of our work you can see there. As far as who to donate to, because I have been trying to get the technical assistance to get that on our website, but we don't have that yet. So how about this? Why don't y'all donate to ACTA? I think that will work fine. They have supported us. They were our first supporters, and they've supported us for 10 years. And so that's what we think.
I'd like to add one other thing, and that is, giving. That's very important because it takes finances in order to make things happen. And as Wanda said, ACTA has been very generous with us. I've done 3 apprenticeships, one with 2 of my sons, and 2 of the young ladies that's involved in our crew, Estrella Ramey and Acacia Woods, have been and still are a part of our crew, along with many others. But I just want to say that if you're interested in knowing more about this culture, that's all we want to do. We need to pass this on to younger people as well as older people. We all, we're at a constant state of learning. The one thing I would say, we are students. We all are just students. We may have a little more on the learning curve about this because we've been doing it a long time. And so, but we would like to share it. So if there are those out there that are interested.
People of African descent.
Yes. And she said that it's important because this culture is, people want to think of it as a religion. It's not a religion, okay? It's not. It's not a religion. It's the same as what Native Americans do, and indigenous people all over the planet don't really have a word for religion. It's a natural state that we are in. And so what we're trying to do is, what we're passing something on is not just a tradition, but it's a spiritual inheritance. You know, it's the science that our ancestors used in order to make their lives better and to understand how to live on this planet. Our ancestors, indigenous people on this planet for thousands of years, and never polluted the water, never polluted the air. So anyway, we'd like to share this with those who are interested. Please contact us, and we teach songs and the tradition, and we do it with no fee.
I forgot to say that we're in Oakland, California, and now we are going to close. We're going to seal, and Tobaji will explain what the seal is, and then maybe we'll see you another time.
Okay. Ashe to, ashe bo, aiku baba wa, ariwa tolokun, to, ibaeshu. And what that is saying is that we have done, ashe to, that we've done it all. Ashe bo, we've done all the sacrifices. Aiku baba wa, that we respected our ancestors, we gave homage to our ancestors. Ariwa tolokun, ariwa means as far as you can go west, and we consider this west going up to heaven. Tolokun, as far as we can go to the bottom of the ocean, that we've done it all. And then we say, to, we've done it all, we've done it all. Iba eshu. So in order for us, for this prayer that we've done, for it to be transported spiritually to those ancestors and those the orishas and all the forces of nature, that we have to pay homage to Eshu, the deliverer. So, to, Iban Eshu. Like my elder, Babemi, explained it to me. He said, when you say to, it's like an echo that's going in your ear. When you're in a big canyon and you say something, it's going, you know, to, all the way to heaven.
So we'll see you another time, and thanks again for joining us. Bye-bye.
Thank you.